Never looking poor is not about clothes, money, or status. It is about the way you carry yourself when life is uncertain, when resources are limited, and when results are delayed. Poverty of the pocket can be temporary, but poverty of the mind can become permanent if we allow it to settle in. Many people earn less but live rich lives, while others earn more yet live with constant fear, insecurity, and dissatisfaction. Looking poor starts the moment we lose confidence in ourselves. It begins when we constantly complain, compare, and seek validation from others. The world responds not just to what we say, but to how we stand, how we speak, and how we believe in our own journey. Even silence has a posture. Even patience has a language. Life will test you with moments when you have less than you expected. But those moments are not instructions to shrink. They are invitations to grow internally. When dignity stays intact, even struggle looks graceful. When self-respect is strong, even simplicity looks powerful. Never looking poor also means not begging for attention, approval, or sympathy. It means understanding that your value is not decided by your current situation. Trees don't stop standing tall in winter just because they have no leaves. They know spring will come. A calm mind, disciplined habits, and respectful communication create an invisible wealth around a person. People trust you, listen to you, and feel safe around you. This kind of richness attracts opportunities without noise. Never look poor in your thoughts. Never look poor in your words. Never look poor in your behavior. Because when your inner world is rich, the outer world eventually follows. Never looking poor begins in the mind long before it ever shows in the bank account. Money is an external resource, but mindset is an internal foundation. A person may temporarily lack finances, opportunities, or recognition, yet still walk with confidence if their thinking is strong. On the other hand, someone with money but a weak mindset constantly feels insecure, afraid of loss, and dependent on validation. This is why true richness starts with how you see yourself, not what you possess. The mind decides how you interpret your circumstances. Two people can face the same struggle, but one feels defeated while the other feels challenged. The difference is not talent or luck, but inner belief. When you believe you are capable, learning, and growing, even failure feels temporary. But when the mind feels poor, every setback becomes a personal insult. Every delay feels like proof of worthlessness. And every comparison steals peace. Confidence is not loud behavior or arrogance. It is a quiet trust in your own journey. A confident person does not rush to explain themselves, does not panic when things go wrong, and does not feel threatened by others' success. This confidence sends a silent message to the world. I may not have everything yet, but I know who I am. People respond to that energy more than they respond to status or wealth. Clarity of thought is another form of inner wealth. When your goals are clear, distractions reduced. When your values are clear, decisions become easier. A confused mind looks poor because it keeps reacting instead of responding. It jumps from one idea to another, one emotion to another, and one comparison to another. But a clear mind moves steadily, patiently, and purposefully, even if progress is slow. Many people unknowingly train their minds to feel poor by constantly consuming negativity, gossip, and unrealistic standards. They measure their worth against filtered lives and instant success stories. Over time, this creates a feeling of lack, even if nothing is actually missing. A rich mindset protects itself by choosing what to listen to, what to think about, and what to ignore. Complaining over explaining and constantly seeking sympathy are habits that quietly communicate inner poverty, even when a person may have talent, intelligence, or potential. These behaviors often feel harmless, even natural, especially during difficult times. But over time, they shape how others perceive us, and more importantly, how we perceive ourselves. The world listens carefully to patterns, not isolated moments. What we repeatedly express becomes our identity in the eyes of others. Complaining is often an emotional release, but when it becomes a lifestyle, it drains inner strength. Every complaint reinforces the belief that life is unfair and that we are powerless within it. Instead of focusing on solutions, the mind becomes trained to search for problems. Slowly, this habit lowers energy, confidence, and initiative. People may listen at first, but eventually, complaints create emotional distance. Others begin to associate the person with negativity, not capability. Over-explaining comes from a fear of being misunderstood or judged. It reflects a lack of trust in one's own worth and decisions. When someone feels the need to justify every choice, every delay, and every limitation, it signals insecurity. A person who believes in themselves does not feel the urge to convince everyone. They allow actions to speak over words. Over-explaining makes even strong reasons appear weak because it suggests doubt in one's own clarity. Seeking sympathy may bring temporary comfort, but it weakens long-term resilience. Sympathy places us in a position of dependence where we expect emotional support instead of developing emotional strength. When someone repeatedly tells their struggles to gain pity, they begin to relive those struggles mentally. The story becomes heavier each time it is told. Eventually, the identity shifts from who I am growing through difficulty to I am someone who is always struggling. These habits also affect self-respect. The more we complain, the more helpless we feel. The more we over-explain, the more we question our own decisions, the more we seek sympathy, the more we wait for external validation. This creates a cycle where confidence slowly erodes, even if external circumstances improve. Silence, on the other hand, has dignity. Not every pain needs an audience. Not every plan needs approval. Not every setback needs explanation. Choosing when to speak and when to remain quiet is a form of emotional intelligence. It shows that you trust yourself enough to handle discomfort without broadcasting it. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means processing struggles with awareness and intention. Share with those who can guide you, not with those who simply listen for entertainment. Express feelings to heal, not to gain attention. When complaining reduces, energy shifts toward action. When over-explaining stops, confidence strengthens. When sympathy is replaced with self-belief, inner power returns. People start noticing your calm, your maturity, and your strength. Opportunities come more easily because others sense stability and reliability. Dignity during difficult times is a rare form of wealth, one that cannot be bought, borrowed, or forced. It is revealed only when life becomes uncomfortable, uncertain, or unfair. Anyone can appear confident when things are going well, but true character is visible when circumstances strip away comfort and control. How a person behaves in hardship silently tells the world who they truly are. When challenges arise, it is natural to feel frustration, fear, or disappointment. Dignity does not mean the absence of emotion. It means the mastery of expression. A dignified person feels deeply but responds thoughtfully. They do not allow pain to turn into bitterness or desperation. Instead of reacting impulsively, they pause, reflect, and choose composure. This inner restraint is not weakness. It is strength refined by awareness. Struggle often tempts people to abandon values in exchange for quick relief. Some lower their standards, compromise integrity, or seek shortcuts to escape discomfort. However, dignity refuses to bend under pressure. It protects principles even when no one is watching and when the reward is delayed. This consistency builds trust, and trust is a currency more valuable than money. People remember how you handled difficulty long after they forget how much you earned. Maintaining dignity also means refusing to define oneself by circumstances. Loss, failure, or delay do not become excuses for rude behavior, dishonesty, or self-pity. A dignified person understands that situations change, but character remains. They do not allow temporary hardship to permanently damage their self-image. This internal stability becomes visible through calm speech, respectful conduct, and steady posture. Dignity creates a quiet grace that others can feel. Even without words, it communicates resilience. When someone faces hardship without constant complaining, blaming, or dramatizing, it leaves a strong impression. People feel inspired, not burdened. They sense reliability, maturity, and emotional strength. Such presence often attracts support, guidance, and opportunities naturally without asking. There is also dignity in accepting help without losing self-respect. Pride is loud, but dignity is balanced. A dignified person can say, "I am struggling," without feeling ashamed or entitled. They receive assistance with gratitude, not dependency. This balance allows growth without humiliation and connection without loss of self-worth. In difficult times, dignity protects mental peace. When you behave in alignment with your values, you avoid the inner conflict that comes from regret. You may be tired, uncertain, or even afraid, but you remain at peace with yourself. This peace becomes a source of strength, helping you endure challenges without collapsing emotionally. Self-respect is the inner line that defines how much you will tolerate, accept, and allow in your life, especially during struggle. When circumstances become difficult, this line is often tested, pressure invites compromise, and uncertainty pushes people to lower their standards just to feel relieved. Yet self-respect is what allows a person to walk through hardship without losing their inner posture. It keeps the head high even when the road is uneven. During challenging times, many people unknowingly trade self-respect for temporary comfort. They agree to do things that violate their values, stay silent where they should speak, or speak harshly where they should remain calm. Each small compromise weakens the relationship they have with themselves. Over time, this creates inner conflict where success feels hollow because it was achieved at the cost of dignity. Self-respect prevents the slow erosion by acting as an internal compass. Walking through struggle with self-respect does not mean being rigid or proud. It means being clear. It means knowing what you stand for and refusing to abandon it under pressure. A person with self-respect does not beg for attention, tolerate disrespect, or chase validation. They understand that hardship does not reduce their worth. Circumstances may be temporary, but values are permanent. Self-respect shapes behavior in subtle but powerful ways. It influences tone of voice, choice of words, and body language. Even in difficulty, a self-respecting person communicates with calmness, rather than desperation. They ask for opportunities, not pity. They negotiate, not beg. This difference may seem small, but it deeply affects how others respond. People are naturally drawn to those who respect themselves, regardless of their current position. There is also self-respect in patience. Not every injustice needs an immediate reaction. Not every insult needs a response. Choosing silence at the right moment is not weakness. It is self-respect protecting peace. When you do not allow others to control your emotions, you maintain authority over yourself. This inner control becomes visible strength. Struggle often brings rejection, delays, and uncertainty. Without self-respect, these experiences feel personal and humiliating. With self-respect, they are seen as part of the journey. A self-respecting person does not allow rejection to define identity. They evaluate, learn, and move forward without bitterness. This mindset keeps confidence intact even when results are slow. Self-respect also involves honesty with oneself. It means acknowledging limitations without self-judgment and striving for growth without self-hate. It encourages improvement from a place of self-worth, not self-loathing. This balanced approach builds resilience. You do not collapse under pressure because your value is not tied to perfection. Silence, when chosen wisely, is not an absence of strength, but a refined expression of it. Many people mistake silence for fear, weakness, or lack of confidence, yet in reality, the ability to remain quiet in certain moments requires deep inner control. Speaking is easy, restraint is difficult. Silence demands awareness, patience, and emotional maturity, which is why it often belongs to those who are internally strong. When emotions rise, the impulse to speak becomes powerful. Anger wants to defend, ego wants to prove, and insecurity wants reassurance. A weak mind reacts immediately, using words as weapons or shields. A strong mind pauses. It understands that not every thought needs a voice and not every situation needs a response. This pause is not avoidance, it is mastery over impulse. Silence protects energy. Words spoken in emotional moments often create regret, conflict, and misunderstanding. Once released, they cannot be taken back. Silence, however, creates space for clarity. It allows emotions to settle and perspective to return. In that space, wiser responses are born. Strength is not shown by how loudly one speaks, but by how calmly one chooses not to. There is power in not explaining yourself to everyone. Constantly justifying actions or decisions signals insecurity. A strong person trusts their intentions and allows time to reveal truth. They understand that those who matter will understand without excessive explanation, and those who do not understand will not be convinced anyway. Silence, in such cases, preserves dignity. In conflict, silence can be more effective than argument. Arguments feed ego and escalate tension. Silence disarms negativity. It denies conflict the fuel it needs to grow. This does not mean suppressing important conversations, but choosing the right moment and the right audience. Silence is selective, not passive. Silence also strengthens listening. When you are not busy preparing your next response, you hear more clearly. You understand emotions behind words, intentions behind actions, and lessons hidden in experiences. This awareness sharpens wisdom. A person who listens deeply appears calm, grounded, and intelligent. In moments of achievement, silence carries humility. There is strength in letting results speak rather than announcing them. Quiet confidence is more convincing than loud self-praise. People trust those who do not need constant attention. Their presence feels steady, not performative. Silence is equally powerful in pain. Not every struggle needs public expression. Sharing selectively protects emotional boundaries. When pain is constantly narrated, it deepens. When processed privately or with the right support, it heals. Silence allows strength to grow inwardly before it shows outwardly. Simple living combined with disciplined thinking creates an inner richness that is often misunderstood in a world obsessed with display and excess. Many assume that abundance must be loud, visible, and impressive, but true wealth often moves quietly. It shows itself not in what is owned, but in how life is managed. When simplicity guides lifestyle and discipline guides thought, a person develops a calm confidence that cannot be shaken by external pressure. Simple living does not mean lack or limitation. It means intentional choice. It is the decision to keep life uncluttered so that energy is not wasted on unnecessary desires. When possessions, commitments, and distractions are reduced, the mind gains space. This space allows clarity, focus, and peace to grow. A simple life frees a person from the constant stress of maintaining appearances and meeting artificial expectations. Disciplined thinking complements this simplicity. It involves training the mind to stay focused, responsible, and aware. Instead of reacting impulsively, a disciplined mind responds thoughtfully. It observes emotions without being controlled by them and plans actions rather than chasing impulses. This mental discipline creates stability. Even when circumstances change, the inner world remains steady. Together, simple living and disciplined thinking form a powerful foundation. When desires are limited and thoughts are directed, contentment becomes natural. A person no longer feels the need to compare, compete, or impress. This quiet satisfaction is deeply attractive. Others sense ease, balance, and authenticity. Without trying to show success, such a person appears successful. In a noisy world, simplicity stands out. People burdened by excess often feel restless and anxious. They carry pressure to maintain lifestyles that do not reflect their true needs. In contrast, a person who lives simply moves with lightness. Decisions become easier, priorities clearer, and stress manageable. This inner order reflects outwardly in calm behavior and steady communication. Disciplined thinking also protects against mental poverty. It prevents overindulgence in negativity, fear, and self-doubt. A disciplined mind chooses thoughts carefully, just as a simple lifestyle chooses possessions wisely. It avoids unnecessary mental clutter like gossip, resentment, and constant worry. Over time, this mental cleanliness builds confidence and resilience. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to turn abundance into dissatisfaction. A person may have health, skills, opportunities, and meaningful relationships, yet still feel poor the moment they begin measuring their life against someone else's highlight reel. This habit quietly steals joy, not because something is missing, but because attention shifts from what is present to what is perceived as lacking. Every individual's journey is shaped by different starting points, struggles, timings, and responsibilities. When we compare, we ignore these differences and judge ourselves using incomplete information. We see outcomes without seeing sacrifices. This distorted view creates unrealistic expectations and unnecessary self-criticism. Even genuine progress begins to feel inadequate when measured against someone else's chapter. Comparison also trains the mind to focus on scarcity. Instead of appreciating growth, the mind starts scanning for gaps. Achievements lose their sweetness and milestones feel small. A promotion feels insignificant because someone else advanced faster. Peace feels fragile because someone else appears happier. This mindset ensures that contentment is always postponed. Gratitude works in the opposite direction. It grounds attention in reality rather than illusion. Gratitude is practiced. The mind begins to notice what is working instead of what is missing. This does not mean ignoring ambition or settling for less. It means building ambition on a foundation of appreciation rather than insecurity. Gratitude allows growth without bitterness. A grateful person understands that enough is not a number but a feeling. They recognize that progress is personal. When gratitude is present, even small wins feel meaningful. The ability to learn, the chance to improve, and the presence of supportive people become sources of richness. Life begins to feel full rather than deficient. Comparison often comes from social conditioning. Constant exposure to curated lives creates the illusion that everyone else is moving faster and living better. Over time, this shapes identity. Instead of asking, "Am I growing?" the question becomes, "Am I ahead of others?" This shift turns life into a competition rather than a journey. Our gratitude brings the focus back to self-development. Gratitude also strengthens emotional resilience. When challenges arise, a grateful mind does not collapse. It acknowledges difficulty, but does not lose perspective. It remembers past growth and current blessings, which creates hope. This balance helps a person face setbacks without feeling defeated. Practicing gratitude changes behavior. Speech becomes softer, complaints reduced, and patience increases. Relationships improve because appreciation replaces expectation. People feel valued, not compared. This creates harmony, which is a form of wealth often overlooked. Gratitude does not deny desire, it refines it. A grateful person still works hard, but without desperation. They aim higher without self-rejection. Progress becomes joyful rather than exhausting. The journey feels meaningful, not rushed. When comparison fades, authenticity returns. You stop trying to live someone else's life and start living your own with intention. Confidence grows because it is rooted in self-acceptance. You no longer feel behind because you understand your timing is valid. Ultimately, comparison drains the soul while gratitude nourishes it. One creates constant hunger, the other creates quiet satisfaction. When gratitude becomes a habit, abundance is felt even in simplicity. And when abundance is felt within, life naturally reflects that richness outwardly, allowing a person to walk through the world with calm confidence and inner peace. Never begging for validation is one of the most important and yet over the most important forms inner wealth. Many people constantly seek approval from others, whether through their work, their appearance, or their opinions. This habit may seem harmless, but it silently communicates insecurity. When we depend on external validation to feel worthy, we surrender control of our self-esteem to forces beyond our control. True confidence, on the other hand, comes from knowing and valuing your own journey without needing constant reinforcement from others. People who seek validation often feel restless. Every comment, every glance, and every reaction from others becomes a measurement of their worth. This creates a fragile self-image that fluctuates with external opinions. A single criticism can feel like failure, while a minor compliment may be overvalued. In such a state, peace and satisfaction are temporary, dependent on circumstances rather than cultivated from within. Choosing not to beg for validation does not mean ignoring feedback or refusing growth. It means differentiating between constructive guidance and superficial judgment. A confident person listens selectively. They absorb lessons that help them improve while discarding opinions that do not align with their values or goals. This selective attention strengthens both self-respect and focus. When validation is no longer the goal, freedom emerges. Actions become intentional rather than performative. Decisions are guided by principles and purpose instead of the desire to impress others. This freedom allows a person to explore, create, and take risks without fear of judgment. When you are not constantly performing for approval, every step becomes authentic, and authenticity naturally attracts respect and trust from others.